Today we're gonna try 3 fruits here in Davao, the Philippines. First is Marang. You can see how it's spiky. There's these things that are hairs you can open up. This is gonna be very excited to open this up. I've seen videos about it. Marang is a relative of the jackfruit and Durian, and it has a very strong smell. This is Santol, or cotton fruit. My Ate Mars reminded me to eat the rind. And this is Suha. I bought 2 of them yesterday from a roadside stand. This is the second one. The first one was kind of dry. It was okay taste-wise. I'm hoping this is juicier. All right, first up, Marang. Super excited. So it has these things that protrude out. They're like hairs. But what I've seen is people open it up with their hands like this and expose the fruit, which I'm doing right now, and it's pretty cool. You can see the color. It's a creamy white color inside. Slightly yellow. Now I'm peeling it. So outside by the skin has these little things that are connected to the fruit. They're fibers. Pretty soft and yummy. It's kind of like a jackfruit. You have that part which typically has a lot of latex, and I haven't detected a lot of latex yet here, which is good because it gets sticky. So here's the inside. These are called arrows, probably. Then there's this little seed. Now, the flavor, I don't immediately think of or jackfruit when I eat it. It has a creamier sweetness to it. I've read it being described similar to cherry moya or ates. There's some of that. The acidity is not as high as a cherry moya, but it's sweet with some banana-ish notes with a little starch in there. Now I'm getting more of the mellow jackfruit. Jackfruit can have this very like bubblegum type of strong flavor. It doesn't have that so much. More of an undertone. But what it does have is this creaminess that you just don't get in jackfruit. I'd say it's like more on the cherry moya spectrum. Pleasantly creamy, versus sometimes you get some grainy elements in a cherry moya. This is like no grain whatsoever, just smooth and delicious. A very pleasant flavor. A baby would love eating these. It's mild in terms of acidity, high in sweetness, on the moderate end of complexity, which for me is a bit of a surprise because this has a very strong smell. I was careful not to openly expose this as I walked into the hotel. I actually put it in my luggage. Because it has a combination of the whiff of durian mixed with some type of fuel. Some people say like gasoline, kerosene. It's not that powerful in a negative way, but it does smell like there's something flammable there. I had it in the fridge for a day. When I walked out of the room and I came back in, I definitely picked up, whoa, there's a smell of something there. It's pungent and potentially flammable. So I don't know if there's methane being released from this, but it's strong. I'd say it's complex enough that it's not boring to eat. This is still not very acidic, but it's just enough to give it complexity. I definitely can't eat this whole thing today. I'm gonna eat part of it and then try the rest tomorrow. It's easy to open. They're not gigantic. And there's so many seeds out here. But there's enough flesh around each of the arrows. It's not really a pain to eat. I'm guessing that like langka, these seeds here are edible. Could one cook with marang like langka? Maybe the green one? I probably wouldn't want to because the ripe fruit is so tasty. And when I was at the roadside stand, there were a number of these. I picked the one that was closest to being very ripe looking. There were some green ones there. I read that you want the ones that are already brown. This is not totally brown. Just get in there. Probably if it got any more brown, it would be harder to hold. You just poke through these hairs and bust it open. Oh yeah, this is a marang. Delicious. How much I've eaten. The last piece I ate had more of the tropical bubblegum jackfruit notes. It kind of depends. I just picked this one from the inside. It's a little bit bigger, juicier, soft. I have a more pronounced flavor. All right, well, First time I've ever tried that fruit, and it's a winner. It is worth the trip to Davao. So if you watch this and you're wondering, should I come? Just do it. Here's the Suha. Let's see if it's dry. This is the second pomelo I bought from a roadside stand coming back from Bansalan, Davao del Sur, where I visited some coffee farms. A coffee farm, rather. This one's juicier. I'm eating this after a very sweet fruit. Oh, good. All right, so this one's a winner. Not as sweet as a Marang. All right, if a Marang on the scale of sweetness is, let's call it a 9. This is maybe a 6. A great transition fruit from one flavor to the next. Richly satisfying. There's a contrast in texture from a very soft, super sweet Marang, creamy, to this, which is not creamy at all. It's just all about some sweetness, texture, acidity. Waking up my palate again after the Marang. Still one of my favorite fruits. A good Suha. It's hard to beat. If you come for Davao fruit tasting, I mean, Marang is definitely a reason to come. You could add the Durian, which I had earlier, and then you have Suha, which is a sidekick. Now, in the holy trinity of Davao fruits, I haven't had any mangosteen yet. I don't know why. I haven't seen it. So yeah, by the way, I need to find the mangosteen. I'm going to a public market tonight. Maybe I'll find it there. In the meantime, we're going to eat some Santol. And what the March reminded me of is, hey, don't waste the balat, the skin, after peeling it, of course. Because usually I've been eating only the inner gummy portion by the seed, which just tastes so good. It has a creamy quality. It also has some acidity. I'll tell you more about that when I try it. But also they peel this. I don't really have a peeler. I just have this knife here in the hotel, so I'm going to try. However, I have eaten these frozen in the US. And the interesting thing is you can actually eat the skin without this part because it already comes peeled. And what I found, it's actually tastier when it's frozen because the outer layer has a bitterness to it. I don't know if this one's going to be that bitter. It's yellowish. I can press into it. I'm going to wash this and come back. Okay, so I'm back with the washed Santol. Now I'm going to try to cut into it and then eat the inside. First the center because I'm expecting it to be pretty yummy. And then I'm going to try to eat this outer part minus the skin. First, it cuts open pretty easily, which is a good sign. I think it means it's pretty ripe. And change of plans. Let me try the skin part first because it's so soft. Okay, so I used this butter knife to peel this Santol, which was surprisingly easy. I was expecting it to be difficult, and maybe because this is more ripe than other ones I've had before. You can see into the inside a little bit. It looks like it has these seed pockets. I don't know if that's true. I think there's just one big seed in here, but we're gonna find out. First, I'm gonna bite the outside. Okay. Kind of bitter. I've seen people eat this with vinegar, and maybe that would help. I've also seen people cook with it. Maybe that's a good idea. Eating it straight, I didn't really miss a lot last time. It is kind of bitter. Acidic too. But once you bite through it, and you get to the laman, the inside, the soft part, just like the jackpot after suffering. I wouldn't come to Davao to eat that, but I'm gonna get to the inside soon. After I suffer more in the name of eating fruits. This one's for you at the Mars. I'll have. The closer you get out to the outside, the more bitter it is. Get some water. But then there's this inside, so let's see how this is. Well, this one has multiple seeds. Oh, it's right. We saw this design here where it was the expression of seed cavities. You see that sometimes on persimmons. And the flavor, relatively high in acidity. And then there's this creaminess. Maybe slightly sweeter than the pomelo, than the Suha. A 6.5, maybe a 7. But I remember why my daughter Ajin loves this so much. Especially when we ate it in the Philippines. several years ago. She really likes foods with acidity. It feels like the acidity is more complex. So there's a high note, and then I have these background notes. It's a more pronounced high than the Suha, and that coupled with the sweetness and the creaminess makes it really interesting to eat. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seeds. It's been some time since I've eaten Santol. I forgot that they have many seeds. I'm gonna save the skin for you out there, Mars. Not eating that. The process of eating the outer rind just helped me appreciate the fruit more. This is one of the weird fruits where if you get this frozen, it's almost just as good. Except for the inside is not as creamy. But what you get is almost a sorbet-like texture as you get to the inside, and reduces some of the bitterness. Now, I'm drawn to eat more of the Suha, so I'm going to do that, and they give you a final wrap-up. The Puyat, the variety I had today, was a yellow color on the inside. It wasn't spectacular, but it was tasty, it was complex, and then depending on the part of the fruit, some parts of the fruit had a more pronounced, more pleasant flavor, and other ones were still pleasant, but it was just less intensely good. At its best, it had this butterscotch pudding mixed with some vodka and then green onions as the savory component. It was present throughout every bite, but I think what varied was this butterscotch quality. And then some parts, depending on the size of the flesh around the seeds, then you get more of this creamy pudding quality. So that's what's available here in Davao. These fruits here I bought from a roadside stand. It was very cheap. Maybe everything together was less than $10. The durian was expensive. So got a whole one cut open. We sat there and we ate it. We got a couple waters. Maybe almost $30. 27 or something. So it was pricey, but high quality fruit doesn't come cheap. I knew we were going to an area where the price of the durian is higher than in other areas, but the quality is supposed to be better. And then you get the convenience factor. We basically drove up right to the fruit stand, sat next to them. They pulled up a couple chairs to a table. They cut open the durian, and then we enjoyed it there, relaxed. They brought us the waters. It was a full experience. Would I spend 30 minutes, an hour to find one that was like $7? Probably not. But out of all, I'm really enjoying eating the Suha. One of my favorite fruits. I love the texture and the moderate level of sweetness. Eating this again, the acidity is not as high as the Santol. It's actually lower. So maybe if the Santol is an 8 in terms of acidity, this is like a 7.5. It's close, but it definitely doesn't have that peak. It's just more like a steady thing. So that is my Suha and my fruit eating adventure so far. Hope you enjoyed my fruit video. See y'all.